It was a mistake. So it's not very clear. I don't just lay it out easily. So you want to lower your risk factor for heart and cerebrovascular disease, which would also lower your risk for dementia. So, Oxford project to investigate memory and aging study found that blood homocysteine levels were significantly higher, and blood folic acid and vitamin B12 levels significantly lower in patients with confirmed Alzheimer's disease. So they said there's a relationship between the vitamin B12, folic acid, and homocysteine. In that the first two reduce the serum levels of the latter. So we tentatively say vitamin B12 and folic acid. So they always talk about possibility, so they haven't really, they're either not backing themselves enough or it's not confirmed yet. But then they'll also say avoid saturated fats and fish polyunsaturated fats would be good. You say actually, I'm not going to talk about, okay, I'm going to say fish polyunsaturated saturated fats over saturated fats. Say important organs they eat, healthy and balanced diet. Okay. 1 to 26. Let's read. So this person had young onset dementia, and she lives alone independently without carers. Yeah. She's busy talking about trying to find information after her diagnosis. And she's like, but where then do you start? So often I hear, well, we put out leaflets and posters, but how do you know where to look for them or what to look for? I read a book that's titled What You're Looking For Is in the Library. That's where I go. So she's written this book to at least give people a start. And that's incredibly impressive. Because if you consider what we've learned about dementia, it's a challenge to learn new things. So her taking on the challenge to learn about something like this, especially because it's going to affect her, really makes you admire her. She points out that it doesn't only dementia does not only associate with memory, it changes our relationships with our senses, our emotions, our communication. And that really hits home because for me, smell is linked to so many of my memories, like good and bad. But I wonder if you were to smell that same smell, would your body remember and release the same chemicals as if you could remember what it meant? I like her ingenuity. She describes how she started having issues with knowing what like the tablecloth was and what the plates were. So she changed the color of the plate, and then when that stopped working, she changed the shape and rather used a bowl. Got to keep adapting. She's still problem solving. She also didn't know how many times she had chewed. Which is a choking hazard. So again, she overcame. Didn't eat meat anymore, was replaced by fish, which we've learned the polyunsaturated fats is better for you. She'd also forget if she'd had something hot. She would just have another bite and not wait for it to cool down. Mm-hmm. She says tea is more than a beverage for me, and it's always felt like a warm hug. I got my tea here. Mm. She also loves Yorkshire tea. So she says dementia has made me an intuitive eater too. In the same way, I more often rely on my gut instinct now to tell me whether I get a good vibe from a new person I meet. I listen more carefully now to the foods that my body demands. Most recently, I experienced this with a craving for nuts and tomatoes. I noticed satisfied by whatever nutrient it wanted, my body quietened down again. About on eating carrots, boiling an egg, on smell. Okay. I think we came to it. Golly. Okay. Say 28. Sorry. Just go clear. Okay, so they recommend a Mediterranean diet rich in nuts, fish, and vegetables. Less high-fat dairy and red meat than we have been accustomed to take. There is no one lifestyle change or dietary change that will eliminate the risk. We need to eat good food in addition to the other interventions to stay well. It's mildly terrifying. Oh. Gravity. That is what that sound is. Okay. So far they've said nuts, fish, and vegetables. So now we're going to be kind of focused on what are we going to focus on? Like people before dementia or people that have dementia, or both? How does nutrition affect dementia? That phrasing's hard. I think the other book will help with that. But let's just see like what diet is recommended. Go from there, I guess. less high. I think I just literally bought 4 liters of like high fat milk. Oh well, I wanted to make milk tart. It's probably also not healthy, but I don't have it often. And they said right here, to be honest, even a buttered bread roll filled with chips could help as part of a healthy lifestyle. The secret is portion control. So an incredibly tiny bun with chips, I guess. So then you want to have fiber. Let's talk about soluble. And then I'm guessing insoluble. Okay, insoluble is what makes you feel less hungry for longer. And keeps your bowels healthy if you take lots of water with it. Help you lose weight. So the other one helps you control cholesterol. I don't think both of those types are good for you. Some incredibly tough stories to read in here. But you want to be able to regulate your water, because as we learned previously, I think even in this particular book, kind of tempted to see if I can find it. Delirium can be caused by a urinary infection, and those can happen if you are not passing water, which this person hadn't done for 10 hours. Because his bowels got blocked. I'm guessing fiber, but that makes you wonder. People on long flights should go to the bathroom more often than they do. You always think you're indestructible. There's a direct relationship between fats and dementia. So you want to avoid artificial stuff called trans fats. Okay, ooh. Using unsaturated fat instead of saturated or trans fat can help lower blood cholesterol. So that's why I said earlier, polyunsaturated fats over saturated fats. Avocados. You can find it there. Oily fish, nuts, seeds, avocados, sunflower, olive oils. Oily fish is omega-3. But you need to be careful by eating too much fish containing contaminants such as dioxins and polychlorinated biphenyls will make yourself ill. So you limit yourself to 4 portions a week. So we say that fish, brackets, no more than 4 portions. Good luck knowing what a portion is. I'm guessing the palm of your hand thing. Maybe that's all you on the can. More. Well, I don't see the harm in having omega-3, even if it's not directly going to say that it, because they said, yeah, Willy fish is rich in omega-3. I once suggested it is good for the brain in a newspaper interview and got an angry letter from a scientist saying that there was not enough strong enough evidence of dementia-related benefits from omega-3 for him to be persuaded to change his diet on my medical recommendation. In truth, some studies say yes and some say no. But even if it doesn't, for this particular thing, in general, it'll help with other things. So, because it's described as anti-rethrogenic, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, anti-amyloid, neuroprotective. It's cheeky. The research shows that omega-3 is associated with better brain health without actually proving that it causes better brain health. Researchers, sorry, this is the best part. Researchers say that more research is needed. They would, wouldn't they? Yeah. Okay, then let's talk about the danger of salt for your heart is well known, but studies have shown that older people who take too much salt and not enough exercise have reduced cognitive power. A teaspoonful a day is too much. So stop putting salt on everything, please. When taste buds are dulled by age, there's a temptation to lash on the salt to get some flavor, but that is a bad idea. I mean, have some herbs, garlic. Okay, don't maybe look into that first. So I think that might do something to someone's blood. But I don't know. Look into it. But there are other ways to season food without salt. So, I'm going to say no more than not too much salt. This is cool. Cups of green tea, which is, I guess, it's matcha part of this. Apparently have the same chemicals that are in red wine that blocks the formation of clumps in the brain in Alzheimer's. So green tea. They probably won't suggest red wine, but green tea. And they said there's also a suggestion from the research that a cup of coffee can make a positive difference in some people. I wonder why. Studies have shown that low vitamin D concentrations in the blood are associated with poor cognitive function and a high risk of Alzheimer's disease. So we can put vitamin D. All you UKers out there should be having this anyway, because else we're all depressed. All depressed. I'm just talking about me. And you can get it from food. I just buy it because I'm lazy. lazy. Okay, and well, they say even just 10 minutes of sunshine. I say, because that's just good for you and your soul, man. Get some fresh air. Oh, okay, look. Gonna be hypocrite. But I'm going to say leave your phone at home. But I mean, I'm taking my phone with me because I want to take pictures for you. And myself. I take plenty more pictures than I actually post. So don't want to annoy people. Eggs. So oily fish eggs, margarine type spreads are fortified with vitamin D. Breakfast cereals, sunlight is basic, particularly in summer months when the rays are the right wavelength. Now I'm interested, what is that wavelength? See now, the other book would have said it, but this book is more general. It's not going to tell me. They'll just say go out in summer. That's all I need to know really, but what if I want to replicate, buy myself a light bulb? Which maybe I will do. I will do that. Become a lizard. Okay, go. I said lots of people with dementia, particularly in care homes, never get outside at all. That's a problem. Interesting. So there was a study where people with MCI, now if we go back, MCI is the thing that we're lucky to get because it meant we've grown old. Where is it? It's what it isn't. Where's that? Mild cognitive impairment. So, interestingly enough, there was a study with people with MCI, mild cognitive impairment, took very large quantities of vitamin B and seemed to slow down their decline, and few of them went on to develop dementia. But now, how do they know? How do they know that those people didn't just only have MCI? And we're never going to get dementia. Well, you have to outweigh the pros and cons. Is vitamin B bad for you? I did recently, well, not recently, maybe a year or two ago, try to get a vitamin B injection, and they said they don't do that anymore unless they know for sure you don't have enough. So I'm guessing there is something bad that can happen if you have too much. But I'm again going to assume your body won't be able to absorb more than it can if you just eating things. But an injection would be different. But again, I don't know that. So definitely make sure you're getting food that has vitamin B in, and go get your bloods taken and see if you're lacking anything. And they also said people with low blood level of folic acid has dementia-like symptoms. So your GP should test you for this if you complain about your memory. wouldn't mind some of that sometime. But I think it's quite a lot of money to get a lot of tests too often. Okay, so I think that, okay, there was that little bit of eating. I'm just going to keep checking. Diet. Let me go back. Did I find it on a diet? I think I did. They talk a lot about appetite. How does, what do I say? Question is, in fact, how does nutrition affect dementia? Well, I'm looking at what can positively help, possibly. Brain health is 100. I think we went over, yes, we went over that. Calories, 133. Yeah. Fiber. Okay, I want to read this quickly. So the enjoyment of food decreases as the dementia increases. Now that we also saw in Mitchell. Looks like there's a challenge. When the person has dementia, they might not tell you that they're in pain. For example, poorly fitting denture or sore mouth might not get mentioned to you, but the person just stops eating. So some people with dementia pace around and use up a lot of energy. In those cases, you might want to enrich their diet in order to get enough calories into them. Difficulty in swallowing can affect people with dementia. It's mechanics of chewing and swallowing. First, the food has to get into your mouth, and eyesight or difficulties with cutlery can be a problem. You have to manipulate it into a soft ball of food that can be swallowed, and this requires saliva. This might be reduced in old age and with some medicines or dehydration. sure I'm answering the question in the angle I really wanted to. So how does nutrition affect dementia? So I probably should have been taking notes of the things like what will go wrong if you say didn't drink enough water or ate too little of this thing, but I don't think I really looked at it that way. I'm looking at it in the lens of how to like kind of solve the issue. We might tweak the question a little bit. Okay. It's been a long one. Oh dear. Well, one more book. Maybe okay. This is where we're heading to. I just need to see where we're going. Okay, so they saying modern wheat, gluten, and a diet rich in carbohydrates, sugars cause inflammation in the brain. This is by there's something called Grain Brain by David Perlmutter, 2014, a neurologist in the USA. So you can minimize inflammation with low glycemic or low grain diets. So they attribute probable causes of brain cell deterioration to 3 factors: genetics, lifestyle, and environment. So with Alzheimer's disease, you can have 2 main forms: the rare early onset Alzheimer's disease, where symptoms begin before the age of 65, and the more common late onset Alzheimer's disease, where the symptoms develop later in life. Each of these types has a different pattern of genetic inheritance, which increases the risk of developing the disease, but neither will lead to a definite development of the disease. Yeah. They were talking about genetic testing and saying that maybe it's not very useful to know always. Experience might be very difficult emotionally, may not provide conclusive results either way, and may cause practical difficulties. I'm thinking insurance. The risk doubles, the risk factor for developing symptoms of dementia doubles every 5 years after the age of 65. Exponential. So it's 1 in 14 people over the age of 65 is affected, and this increases to 1 in 6 over the age of 80. Let me check. I think I had a question about how many people are affected. In my book. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is page 40. This is So the main lifestyle factors that can contribute environmental toxins, inflammation, gluten, cholesterol, oxidative stress, high blood sugars. Okay. Let me take a quick break. Okay, we shall continue. Okay, so they point us towards the Alzheimer's Society webpage, the science behind the headlines, to get information about environmental toxins. Let me see, is this a British book, an American book? Where does this come from? USA. Okay. Inflammation. So, inflammation is a healing process by our immune system that involves pain, redness, and swelling in response to an injury. There's a strong relationship between inflammation within the brain and dementia. These diseases include, that can be linked to inflammation, include diabetes, arthritis, heart disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and many types of cancer. So they're recommending to eat wild lean meat, fish, green, leafy vegetables, fruit and nuts, berries and honey. So they said we've also moved away from diets that was equally balanced between omega-3 and omega-6. Omega-3 fatty acids are cheap, found in all sorts of processed foods and in many vegetable oils. The problem is that omega-6 fatty acids are pro-inflammatory, whereas omega-3 is anti-inflammatory. So we're going to say omega-3. Okay, the other book was like wishy-washy. This one is going on like several, they're kind of like backing their dominoes here, because they're linking dementia to inflammation, sorry. And then they're saying that omega-3 can prevent the inflammation, or I guess reduce it. It says anti-inflammatory, I don't know. Gluten is not a single molecule, but two main groups of proteins, glutenins and gliadins. I'm not going to pronounce anything correctly, just know that. Either of which could cause sensitivity reaction inflammation. Gluten is a general name for the proteins found in wheat, rye, and barley. That's new to me. I thought it was only in wheat. Gluten can also be in soups, ice creams, and condiments. Yes, as like a thickening agent. So those two proteins I mentioned earlier, glutenin and gliadin. Oh wait, I'm saying that wrong. Improve the strength and stickiness of dough. Still only make bread. I have a mix. I think I'll try it on the weekend. So they'd use it for recipes that require volume and expansion, such as bread loaves and dinner rolls. The body's inflammatory response to gluten produces cytokines which travel around the body, and when they cross the blood-brain barrier, they block the production of chemicals called neurotransmitters. These chemicals are needed for carrying messages from one brain cell to another. In addition, cytokines bind to the brain cells and cause inflammation. This inflammation leads to the production of more cytokines in the brain, and a vicious cycle has begun. Control systems, eh? Oh no. The evidence points to the nervous system as a prime site of gluten damage. I need someone to explain to me, is your literal nerves the same as everyone keeps talking about, like how their nervous system's activated or things like that? Like, is it the same thing? On top of all this damage, vitamin and mineral deficiencies are linked to a high gluten diet. That'll be especially prevalent in people that have celiac disease, where the microvilli in your digestive system, they can't absorb nutrients. I don't know how it would affect people that don't have that. Carbohydrates, typically thought of as healthy, such as brown rice, 100% whole grain bread, or quinoa, cause disorders like dementia over a lifetime of consumption. Oh my goodness. These carbohydrates are now thought by many to be the true source of problems that plague our brains and hearts. By removing these inflammation-causing carbohydrates from the diet, increasing the amount of fat and cholesterol we consume, we not only protect our most valuable organ, but also potentially undo years of damage. Cholesterol promotes neurogenesis. Now that's the word I was looking for when I was talking to Greg the other day. That's very annoying. Very annoying. But that's the word I wanted. The communication between neurons to the degree that studies have shown that high levels of serum cholesterol correlate to more robust cognitive prowess. You need cholesterol, yes. No cells, no bone structure, no muscles, no hormones, no sex, no reproductive system, no digestion, no brain function, no memory, no nerve endings, no movement, no human life, nothing without cholesterol. We would die instantly without it. We just don't want too much. Now we go on to oxidative stress. Free radicals are produced by cells as a byproduct of energy production. So that's normal. Free radicals seem to contribute to aging. So if we can make our consumption of energy more efficient, we could make it more difficult to make free radicals, which means we would age slower. So you can see signs of oxidative stress in the cerebral, spinal fluid, and urine and brain. So you want vitamin C, E, beta carotene, hydrated carotenoids, fibrinols, phenols, and many more. It's not good to be too much with your thoughts. Okay, so high blood sugars. When blood sugar levels rise, there's an immediately corresponding reduction in the levels of several neurotransmitters. Additionally, high blood sugars trigger a reaction called glycation, where sugar molecules and proteins combine to form deadly new structures in the brain that are stiff and inflexible. So if you want to have a mobile, nimble mind, you're not going to have too much sugar. There's increasing evidence of a risk relationship between diabetes and dementia. Okay, we're getting, sorry, I just need to see how much left. I'm tired. Okay. can do this. Let's speed read. So there's a risk of under-eating, which we've kind of seen in other books. Fact that 20 to 45% of those with dementia in the community experience clinically significant weight loss over 1 year. Up to half of people with dementia in care homes have inadequate food intake. Okay, when mild dehydration occurs, an individual will lose 2% of their body weight. Severe dehydration is when an individual loses at least 4% of their body weight. What happens if someone loses 10? Yeah. The human body on average is made up of 55 to 60% water. However, the water content of a 75 to 80-year-old is nearly 50% less than that of a young person. So the risks of dehydration, or the main reasons why there's a risk of dehydration, is people with dementia can forget to drink simply because they forgot where they placed their drink or that they had one. Cannot recognize they are thirsty, because whatever the brain will trigger an individual to drink when they're thirsty is affected. They'll know that they're thirsty, but they won't know to make the connection between drinking and relieving their thirst. They cannot recognize the cup or mug or the drink in it. So even if they recognize their thirst, they don't know how to satisfy it. They cannot initiate the movement to reach out and pick up the cup or mug. There's certain medications are commonly prescribed that can cause a diuretic effect. Certain illnesses and inability to swallow. For some people with dementia, their brain is affected in such a way that the mouth and throat do not receive messages from the brain to tell them what to do when eating or drinking. Or they may simply not like the taste of thickened fluids. We should drink 1.2 liters, 68 glasses of fluid every day. I've heard of resveratrol before. Not sure where. I think I know who told me, but I don't know in what context. Turmeric. Probiotics. I need some probiotics. They play a role in creating neurochemicals such as serotonin and dopamine. They happy, you happy. Which is essential for healthy brain and nerve function. Alpha lipoic acid crosses the blood-brain barrier, acts as an antioxidant in the brain. Vitamin D, because it protects neurons from damaging effects of free radicals and reduces inflammation. Vitamin C, E, beta carotene, because they counteract oxidative damage caused by certain foods such as gluten. Coconut oil, because it's a rich source of ketogenic fats which provide the brain with energy it needs and support brain cell repair and recovery. Okay, I'm also going to show you a table that is useful should someone have to try help someone with, but it's not relevant to this question. Okay. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to read my question again. How does nutrition affect dementia? So we've said, I think I'm just going to put it very simply into good and bad. Okay, I'm just going to quickly point out which the hard part again. Now I'm tired, so I'm not really doing this well. But I think if someone wants to know truly what am I learning, you need to watch the big long video. At least I would know it now. I'm not going to be able to summarize it properly. Okay, I think I'm going to have to just pen it out properly. I don't have time to do this twice. through. Hope it doesn't. Okay. I'm just quickly going to do a short video talking about this, so I'll be able to make it into a digestible thing instead of someone has to watch this whole. There's a little bit I didn't add in this summary though about how you think about anti-inflammatories. You need something that maintains cholesterol the right amount, potentially go gluten-free or reduce gluten. You need antioxidants, you need more omega-3s. So yes, you need to tackle environmental toxins, inflammation, gluten, cholesterol, oxidative stress, and high blood sugars. To tackle this question in the Deciphering Dementia list, how does nutrition affect dementia? The source led us to a list of supplements with potential benefits. So we have this list here: omega-3, resveratrol, turmeric, probiotics, vitamin D, some other vitamins, coconut oil. Then eating a healthy, balanced diet is essential. Plenty of fluids is vital. You want to make sure that you have enough vitamin B12, folic acids, nuts, polyunsaturated fats, oversaturated fats, fish, no more than 4 portions a week, vegetables, fiber, soluble and insoluble. Just fix that. Vegetables, fiber, less fat, less high-fat dairy, and red meat. Not too much salt. Must be less than a teaspoon a day. Very little. I guess only a pinch is enough. Little pinch. Then 10 minutes of sunshine is absolutely vital. You can join me on my walk. And there's also a risk of malnutrition with dementia. Enjoyment of food can decrease as the dementia increases. Food can become difficult to swallow with a loss of coordination skills.